Good morning.
Namaste and a very warm welcome to Law Dharma Nexus. Today's topic is about misuse of Section 498 IPC and now 85 and 86 of BNS. Before we begin with that part, let us first understand how marriage is looked upon by our Indian society. So, in Hinduism, marriage is not a contract, but it is a sacred ceremony. In Dolly Rani versus Mahesh Chanjal's case, it was held by the court that youths should understand the deeper meaning of the marriage. It's not about dance or all food and jewelry, clothing. It goes much beyond that. It's growing together. It is a union of two people and also the family. So more deeper meaning was given to marriage in this case, and it was held that the youths need to, the youths who are, who want to enter into the marriage should understand the deeper meaning of marriage as an institute. Further, though, we have this perception of marriage in our community. Often it has been seen that Section 498A, then IPC, and 85 and 86 of BNS is now being misused, and it has become a matter of concern for everybody. So, various cases are being there which talks about how this has been misused. So we are going to talk about our first case, and that is Rudra Narayan Ray versus Piali Ray. In Rudra Narayan Ray versus Piali Ray, the couple got married, and then there was a differences between them. The main reason for difference was that the wife here had mother-in-law, 72 year old, and great mother-in-law. Like the husband's great grandmother was also there, was about a year age 92, 93. So she clearly told that I'm not going to look after these two ladies and let's stay separately, or you send them to the old age center, which the husband denied. And he said that those two ladies are responsibility of me. I have to take responsibility of them and I cannot do this. Upon which this lady was constantly fighting with the husband. Meanwhile, she became pregnant and she was advised for the bed rest for 9 months. So she stayed in the matrimonial house. Everything was done by these ladies and the husband. Later on, she went to her parents' place for delivery. Now she delivered a male child, upon which she did not come back to the matrimonial home immediately. So husband, insisted her that come to the house and all. So she said, I'll come on two condition. I mean, some conditions. So she imposed certain conditions and she came to the matrimonial house. On coming there also, she did not allowed the mother-in-law and the great grandmother of husband to touch the child. So she continued her behavior. She continued taunting them. She continued harassing them, and again a constant fight with husband to stay separately. Ultimately, she went back again to the parents' home. Meanwhile, the husband was also, like, now let's file for the judicial separation. So he filed for the judicial separation, upon which the wife harassed the husband by constantly giving calls by the police, and she filed for the maintenance. So on one hand, it was like she don't want to take any responsibility of the household, and then she is seeking for the maintenance also. So the husband, told all his story that this is my problem, that the wife is post graduation in zoology, can take care of herself, and now she just want to extract money from me to lead an luxurious life and put me in trouble. So in this case, the court said that the maintenance to the child can be given, and it was given up to 25,000, whereas the maintenance to the wife was denied. The court not only did that, but the court cited so many things in this case, and they said that the introduction to family life education should be taught to every person before entering into the wedlock. In pages 71 to 86, they cited all this. It is written by Professor Teresa Chaco, and the roles and the responsibilities of husband and wife is well explained in this. So every person before entering the wedlock should go into read this book is what the court said. Further, the court said that Article 51A of Constitution of India, which talks about our rich heritage and culture, the culture to look after our elder people. So this was also cited by the government, and a beautiful judgment on how our culture and how the role and responsibilities of husband should be understood before entering the wedlock was explained in this judgment. Now we go to the next, that is Gedam Jasi versus the state of Telangana. In this case, what happened was, after the relationship became strained, the wife filed an FIR against the not only the husband and husband's mother, but all the relatives staying in the state of Telangana. So even those who are not staying with them, those who are, just the relatives of the husband. So it was just to harass unnecessarily. They were dragged into this divorce process. So thereupon, what these relatives who were, falsely accused of Section 498A and dowry cases also. So they went to Telangana High Court to get the FIR squashed from the High Court. But here, the Telangana High Court said, no, 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 we cannot do anything. It cannot be squashed unless and until you prove that you are innocent and you bring in the evidence and go by the process. So one needs to understand that this takes time, all right, to prove your innocence and all. And meanwhile, what? We stay in a society, we follow by the norms of this society, and it's very difficult to, stay with such an allegations imposed on you, right? So they went to Supreme Court, and then the Supreme Court give them the relief, saying that there is no specific allegation, there is no proof as to the relatives have harassed or caused any kind of cruelty to the wife. So unnecessarily, why the FIR being registered against them and why they are dragged into this? In this case, also, the Supreme Court concerned about how the family must be going through the emotional strain, financial constraint, and everything. And it's really very difficult to, criminalize the family dispute in such a way. Family is a foundation of respect, trust, caring for each other, and you're totally taking it to the ugly ugly track to just take some revenge or to see to it that things are from your side. So this was also, in this case also, court granted relief to the relatives, but they said that the husband and mother's FIR, that there the inquiry should be continued, because it's been seen that there are some proof and evidences which shows that something must have happened. So they continued with that inquiry, but then the relatives inquiry was totally squashed. All right, now let's understand this Pratik Bansal versus the state of Rajasthan. Now, here also, the couple was, married in the year 2016. Later on, there was some dispute in between them. They started staying separately, and the wife and her father, what they did was, multiple FIRs were registered against this father in Haryana as well as in Udaipur. So, it was the intention. Mr. Pratik Bansal, of course, he went to the court and he said that double jeopardy and all those stands were taken, and the intention of the parties is not good. All this was being considered by the court, and they said that this is uh, this is something which is the FIRs been registered with a very ulterior motive. The intent of the parties is just to harass the husband. That's it. So there was a balance made in between the right to, the protection of the women and abuse of the husband. The weapon which has been used of this 498A and 8586 of BNS, it's been used as a tool. It's been used as a state machinery and law to harass the husband, which should be immediately stopped. And this balance was finally, created by the court here in this case. It's not only restricted to this. There are, it's not restricted only to causing harm to the husband and relatives, but at times it goes to a extreme way, like in the case of Suman Mishra versus state of Uttar Pradesh. um Again, in this case, there was a tussle between husband and wife. The husband started with a divorce petition, upon which the wife filed an FIR. And what extent she went to, like she filed everything right from 498A to dowry to rape against the brother in law, rape allegations against the brother in law. So 376, Section 3 and 4 of Dowry Prohibition Act, 498A, and assault, everything was ever registered as an FIR against the husband and relatives of the husband. Now, what happened in the charge sheet? The officials dropped 376. This wife did not file any no protest petition against dropping the allegations of 376 in the charge sheet. That means what? That she accepted the fact that it wasn't there, right? Secondly, when the timing and the circumstances, it was only when the husband started the divorce proceedings, then the wife lodged the FIRs, then she complained about the husband. This was the second thing which shows the ulterior motive of the wife to harass the husband. So these two three things were shown by the, considered by the court, and it said that this is just the weapon used by the wife to harass the husband and his relatives, and it has gone to the extent of causing rape, such an allegations which, nobody would have it on any family member. The family which is based on the foundation of love and respect for each other. I just wonder, what would the children think about when they read all these judgments and, come to know about this history of the family, that his chachu, his uncle did this to the mother, or the grandparents were once upon a time jailed, or is my family this way? So what impact it must be having of the future generation is a matter of concern which nobody is right now thinking. Though in the second part, we are going to talk about the impact of all these false allegations, the impact of divorce proceedings, and all these things on the children, and how children are also used by the parents in this divorce proceedings is also a great concern, which needs to be really addressed now. Otherwise, our future generation is going to be brought up into a very unhealthy atmosphere. The development is not going to be good, or it's going to be in a very adverse way for the child. So this is the time when your eyes should be open wide enough to protect this future generation and stop all this which is going on in the sacred institute of marriage. For that, we have come with the course which is beginning in the month of April, and that is about the family dispute resolution practitioner. It is an intensive training about around 20 days, wherein it's online. We are going to discuss about premarital consultancy, what you should go before entering into the marriage, compatibility test, and other things which every couple should, who is about to get married, should go. And then it's not that after going through we should stop. Marriages are something like a car which needs servicing. Your relationships also need servicing continuously. So this is a course which tells you how you can, you can have this relationship enrichment thing for the couple to keep their romance in the life, in the marital life, very alive. Secondly, the conflict, if at all is there, how it should be resolved in a very nice way, the communication style of the parties, understanding the duties and roles, and everything would be discussed in a very uh, uh, theoretical way. So this is a blend of psychology, legal, worksheet, activities, everything would be concerned there. And moreover, it is, the practical aspect which gives it a very importance. So you all would be given a role plays wherein you would sort out these things yourself. So this is what is very important about this course. And if you are interested, the my number and the email ID is given in the description box. Please do call us. Thank you so much.